everyone and welcome to my channel, guys. I'm Infenzia, and 4 years ago now I met up with a guy and he goes under the name of Basantos, and we decided to create a game together. So he contacted me in 2019 before the troubles of COVID because he wanted to set out and create his very first video game, but it was based on a board game that he spent more than 20 years to develop and play himself. And after he showed me some of his ideas, I couldn't wait to get started on the project. We released the game 1 year ago, we're continuing to develop it, and we're having a lot of fun. We're adding more features to it, and it's going to be growing over years to come as well. In this video, I want to showcase what we have achieved, and I'm really proud to be part of a small team that's managed to create a game that's replayable with virtually infinite number of procedurally generated worlds. And it's simple, everyone can pick it up and easy to understand. As soon as you get into it, you realize that you don't need quick fingers. You can have a lot of fun, just draw your commands and learn how it's like a chess game, but with a strategy war game instead. So sit back, enjoy this recap of this match, and yeah, let's go for it.
Welcome to this line war match. Today, Team Alpha, led by Infenzia in blue and Jackson in red, will be facing off against Team Bravo, with Archer in yellow and Sergeis in teal. Get ready for an intense battle on World Seed 278516. In the picking phase of this strategic battle, the most sought-after strategic areas were carefully contested and effectively blocked off, leaving the players with limited options. They were faced with a critical decision, choosing between small locations providing access to the mainland or claiming territories in the corners of the battlefield for increased territorial control and a stronger initial infantry presence. The delicate balance between securing connections to the mainland and reaping the rewards of far-flung territories required thoughtful consideration. As the players finalized their selections, the stage was set for the impending battle. The decisions made in this crucial phase would shape the team's strategies and determine their initial positions on the battlefield. The paths they had chosen would influence the course of this consequential conflict. With their choices locked in, the teams prepared to embark on a journey that would test their mettle and tactical acumen. The consequences of their decisions would unfold in due time. The outcome of this battle hinged upon the wisdom behind their selections as they engaged in a calculated dance on the battlefield. The question loomed: who would emerge victorious in this strategic confrontation? The unfolding events would reveal the answers as the battle played out. Infenzia, as the blue player in Team Alpha, strategically chose to start in the far east region of Terra Valora. His decision aimed to establish a robust infantry presence on the mainland, taking into account the possibility of opponents starting weak on the island or prioritizing territories on Citadel Rock. By doing so, Infenzia sought to gain an advantage in terms of control and flexibility, setting the stage for tactical maneuvers that could potentially shape the outcome of the battle. Jackson, representing the red player in Team Alpha, made a strategic choice to commence his campaign on the north shore of Treasure Cove. This positioning provided him with a crucial advantage: a direct trade route to Infenzia in the northeast. However, Jackson anticipated the presence of an opponent in the southern region of Treasure Cove. To counter this potential threat, Jackson formulated a calculated plan. He started with multiple barracks, aiming to outnumber his opponent and gain a significant advantage in terms of troop numbers. Additionally, he constructed 2 shipyards, strategically positioning himself to facilitate swift expansion from Treasure Cove when surplus infantry units were available. This not only allowed for rapid deployment but also established naval superiority in the region, enabling him to control sea-based operations. Both Infenzia and Jackson recognized the importance of early economic development. They swiftly constructed towns, focusing on establishing a lucrative trade route. This strategic decision not only generated valuable resources, but also enhanced their overall economic strength, laying the foundation for future growth and strategic maneuvers. Jackson's deliberate positioning, coupled with his focus on building barracks and shipyards, showcased his tactical approach to securing a favorable position in Treasure Cove. The joint efforts of Infenzia and Jackson in establishing early trade routes underscored their understanding of the economic advantages it offered. These calculated moves set the stage for a dynamic clash, with both players vying for control and dominance in the contested region of Treasure Cove. Archer, representing the yellow player in Team Bravo, made a calculated decision to begin his campaign on the mainland of Terra Valora, despite being limited to only 2 starting territories and having a significantly lower number of infantry units. However, this location offered a key advantage. It was situated right next to an important energy well, providing a valuable resource for strategic operations. Archer recognized that his reduced starting strength could work in his favor. Given the restrictions placed on Team Alpha confined to the far east of Terra Valora or the southern island of Treasure Cove, it was likely that they too would face similar limitations in terms of infantry numbers. This provided Archer with a unique opportunity to exploit potential weaknesses in their positions. Favoring a strong tank start, Archer leveraged the early access to energy resources. This allowed him to deploy tanks swiftly, bolstering his offensive capabilities. His strategic objective was twofold: to either launch an attack on a nearby opponent, knowing they would likely have only a few infantry units, or apply pressure in the eastern region if the opponent had opted for a starting position in the far east. Archer's decision showcased his astute analysis of the battlefield. By carefully considering the starting location, resource availability, and potential weaknesses of his opponents, he aimed to gain an early advantage and set the stage for a calculated and tactically sound campaign. Sergeys, representing the teal-colored player in Team Bravo, devised a strategic plan centered around securing a dominant presence on Treasure Cove. Recognizing the importance of maximizing his starting territories, Sergeys aimed to establish a formidable position on the island, ensuring full control and the ability to repel any opponents who opted for the limited 3-territory north area. Sergeys kicks off his campaign by strategically constructing 3 barracks, a factory, and 3 industries to establish a solid foundation. To expand his reach beyond the initial island, he also builds a shipyard, allowing him to venture into new territories and strengthen his presence in the match. During his exploration of the island, Sergei swiftly identified Jackson positioned in the north. Despite suffering heavy losses in the initial infantry encounters, Sergeys astutely adapted his strategy, focusing on building a substantial force of artillery units. This strategic move aimed to protect him from the large number of infantry units that would have to navigate the challenging mountainous terrain to reach him. Sergeys' meticulous planning and ability to adapt showcased his strategic acumen. By prioritizing a dominant presence on Treasure Cove, swiftly reacting to the presence of opponents and leveraging specialized units, he aimed to establish a formidable position and assert his control over the battlefield. Recognizing the dire situation of being cornered, Jackson made a crucial decision to request assistance from Infenzia. In response, Infenzia swiftly organized a small force comprising infantry and artillery units dispatched to the south region of Treasure Cove, aiming to contest the land and buy valuable time for Jackson to bolster his forces. However, as Jackson evaluated his strategy, he realized a potential overcommitment to barracks. This left him with limited funds to build essential factories, which could pose a problem in the long run. The treacherous mountain range further compounded the situation, as infantry units risked becoming mere cannon fodder without the support of specialized units. As the situation unfolded, the collaborative efforts between Jackson and Infenzia took center stage, with Invenzia's timely reinforcement aiming to provide a temporary buffer while Jackson adjusted his strategy. The balance of resources and troop deployment would prove crucial in determining the outcome of the battle, and the subsequent actions of both players would shape the narrative of the conflict in the contested region of Treasure Cove. Meanwhile, on Terra Valora, Archer's formidable tank force advanced towards a robust defensive line established by Infenzia. The defensive position primarily comprised infantry units. Recognizing the challenge ahead, Archer meticulously assembled a powerful force consisting of tanks and infantry, strategically combining their strengths. Noticing the presence of an enemy airport nearby, Archer discerned the need to protect his tank force from potential aerial threats. To counter this, he deployed a few surface-to-air missile, or SAM, units, enhancing his defensive capabilities against airborne assaults. Archer's careful planning and coordination of forces demonstrated his astute command of the battlefield. With a focused strategy that leveraged tanks, infantry, and SAM units, he aimed to breach the 3-line deep defensive barrier and secure a tactical advantage over Invenzia's entrenched positions. The stage was set for a clash of forces, where Archer's combined arms approach would be put to the test against Infenzia's staunch defense. Infenzia keenly recognized the vulnerability of his defensive line as Archer's formidable tank force launched a relentless assault. In a bid to fortify his defenses, Infenzia had strategically constructed 2 shipyards positioned on the north and south shores. This allowed him to produce powerful cruiser units that held the potential to protect the flanks and offer crucial support in countering Archer's attack. Archer's audacious move path strategy, bulldozing through the defensive line, posed a significant challenge. The scarcity of artillery units within Infenzia's defense lines increased the tank's chances of persevering through the defenses. The stage was set for a high-stakes confrontation as Archer's tanks pushed forward, their objectives set firmly on the airport. In a tense turn of events, Archer's tanks managed to breach the defense line just inches away from reaching their ultimate goal. However, Infenzia's helicopters took to the skies, swiftly eliminating the remaining tanks, while Archer's surface-to-air missile, SAM units rushed to their aid, but were unable to offer sufficient protection. The clash between air superiority and ground forces resulted in a critical turning point, forcing Archer's tanks to succumb in the face of formidable opposition. At this point, Archer had successfully secured the mainland of Terra Valora, establishing his dominance over the region. Infenzia, on the other hand, had effectively safeguarded his isolated yet pivotal presence in the Far East, ensuring his strategic foothold remained intact. Meanwhile, Sergey's exhibited a confident stance as he consolidated control over the majority of Treasure Cove. With a growing number of artillery units concealed within the forest hidden from Jackson's sight, Sergey's posed a formidable threat. His forces pressed forward, forcing Infenzia's task force into retreat, now stranded in the mountains far from their home base. The dynamics of the battle shifted with Archer firmly in control of the mainland, Infenzia holding his ground in the east, and Sergey's expanding his dominance in Treasure Cove. The strategic choices and actions taken by each player would significantly impact the future course of the conflict, as they navigated the challenging terrain and sought to maintain their positions against the mounting pressures of the opposition. Sergey's, seizing the opportunity, successfully transported a contingent of infantry to the western island of Crucial Key, initiating a gradual expansion. The significance of gaining control over Crucial Key cannot be overstated, as it boasts 3 vital trade routes, 4 towns, and a prime city site. With Team Bravo's overwhelming dominance over Terra Valora and Treasure Cove, and now their expansion into Crucial Key, the outcome of the match hangs in the balance. Infenzia's success in clearing Archer's shipyards or Jackson's survival on Treasure Cove alone may prove insufficient to secure victory against Bravo's strategic stronghold. The stage is set for a test of wit, adaptability, and resourcefulness as each team vies for control over crucial territories, maneuvering their forces and striving to gain a decisive edge in the ever-evolving dynamics of the battlefield. Jackson's infantry forces suffered heavy casualties as they encountered fierce resistance within the dense forests of Treasure Cove. Despite managing to gain control over a few territories, Jackson's lack of artillery severely limited his ability to pose a significant threat to Sergey's forces. In a separate development, Infenzia dispatched 2 landing crafts to Crucial Key, unaware of the contested situation. As the landing forces arrived, they found no opposition on the shores, but it became evident that Bravo team had established firm control over the territories. The unsettling sound of impacting torpedoes echoed through Infenzia's mind, emphasizing the challenges posed by submarines and the vulnerability of trade routes and ocean territories. The realization of the precarious nature of their position emphasized the need for careful planning and strategic maneuvers to safeguard their interests against Bravo team's formidable submarines. Archer diligently continued to strengthen his army, but the uncertainty of facing an opponent concealed within the fog of war posed a challenge. Infenzia's formidable 3-line deep defensive line remained intact, bolstered by a navy protecting the flanks. However, Team Alpha faced limited access to energy resources, compelling energy-dependent units like the Navy to remain largely stationary. Meanwhile, Sergeis initiated a methodical push, gradually advancing out of the forest and across the treacherous mountain terrain with a terrifying force of artillery. Jackson's situation grew increasingly precarious as Sergeis' presence loomed larger. Unbeknownst to Sergeis, Infanzia managed to cling to survival in the southern part of Treasure Cove, bolstered by a newly established factory nestled in the mountains. Nevertheless, this small force would prove insufficient to pose a credible threat to Sergeis' expanding might. The balance of power hung in the balance as each team navigated the intricacies of the battlefield. Their fates intertwined in a strategic struggle for dominance. Infanzia makes a decisive move, breaking free from the defensive line to advance towards Archer, who initiates a hasty retreat as Infanzia's forces close in. However, as Archer's units emerge from the shrouded fog of war, Infanzia is compelled to fall back into his previous defensive position. Hindered by the lack of energy, Infanzia's navy remains immobilized, but the resounding boom of cruisers echoes through the forest, inflicting heavy damage on Archer's units. Seizing an opportunity as Archer's tanks venture away from their air defenses, Infanzia unleashes helicopters in tandem with cruisers, effectively annihilating the tank force. Emboldened by this tactical triumph, Infanzia once again releases the defensive line, surging forward against Archer. However, Infanzia's helicopters remain grounded due to the energy shortage, leaving them vulnerable to Archer's anti-aircraft fire. In the midst of the fierce battle, Infanzia orchestrates the assembly of a small landing force destined for Citadel Rock. Despite the energy limitations, Infanzia emerges victorious in the intense land conflict, while the surprising absence of opposition allows the landing party to inch closer to claiming Citadel Rock. As the conflict unfolds, Archer submarines stealthily strike Jackson's port, effectively severing the vital trade route and diminishing the income of both Jackson and Infanzia. Meanwhile, Sergeis steadily advances towards Jackson, establishing a dominant presence in the region. However, Sergeis may have overextended their forces. The numerous structures and units stationed in Treasure Cove exact a heavy toll on their resources. Sergeis' units risk becoming stranded on the island once Jackson is eliminated. In a desperate bid to survive, Jackson manages to dispatch a lone artillery unit to Crucial Key, gradually capturing a secure territory to construct a lifeline structure. In line war, the elimination of all structures spells doom for a player. The pressing question remains: can Jackson conquer and establish a rescue structure in time to stave off eradication from Treasure Cove? Infanzia poses no immediate threat on the island, yet their entrenched artillery presence proves to be a persistent nuisance for Sergeis. The fate of the players hangs in the balance as the strategic interplay intensifies in this high-stakes battle. Infanzia's progress on Terra Valora is hampered by a slow and arduous advance, plagued by the persistent energy shortage. The situation takes a turn for the worse as Archer's submarines set their sights on Infanzia's sea-based refinery, posing a direct threat to their resource production. Neither Infanzia nor Archer possesses precise knowledge of each other's true strength on Terra Valora, relying instead on their experience in the game to gauge the relative power dynamics based on the unfolding events and the passage of time. Amidst the challenging circumstances, Infanzia manages to secure uncontested control over Citadel Rock, gradually expanding their territorial dominance. Meanwhile, Jackson's artillery unit fights desperately to capture a territory, striving to maintain a foothold in the match as he is pressured off Treasure Cove. In a strategic move, Infanzia positions cruisers along the coast, buying Jackson precious moments of survival and hoping to sustain Jackson's presence on Crucial Key. As Jackson is gradually pushed off Treasure Cove, he manages to maintain his presence in the match by constructing a single barracks on Crucial Key, an island now largely under the control of Team Alpha. Infanzia's small but resilient artillery force, entrenched in the mountains, survives and makes brief forays into the open plains, only to be driven back to the defensive line where they continue to serve as a valuable distraction for Sergeis. Despite the loss of the trade route and Jackson's position on Treasure Cove, the overall economy remains fairly balanced. Team Alpha maintains a combined income of 1248 capital per minute, while Team Bravo generates 1160 capital per minute. The strategic positioning and resource management of both teams continue to shape the course of the match, as the delicate balance of power teeters on the edge of a fierce and decisive confrontation. As Sergei solidifies his control over Treasure Cove, he makes a bold decision to self-destruct his structures, recognizing the strength of his existing forces. With precision, Sergei eliminates the last remnants of Infensia's units on Treasure Cove and proceeds to dismantle his own producers, freeing up valuable capital. This moment marks a critical turning point in the match. Sergei faces a crucial choice, whether to construct shipyards and transport his formidable army across the waters, or to prioritize the establishment of secure airports. The fear of lacking a sufficient navy to protect his forces weighs heavily on Sergei's mind, leading him to opt for the latter option. The aftermath of a fierce battle can often leave one feeling overwhelmed and unsure of the best course of action, especially when abundant resources are stranded far from where they are most needed. With tensions high and the stakes growing ever greater, Sergei must navigate this pivotal juncture with careful consideration and strategic foresight. The fate of the match hangs in the balance, and every decision made now carries significant consequences. As Infensia's forces on the mainland of Terra Valora diminish, they are compelled to retreat once more towards the east. However, Infensia finds respite in their production of units on Citadel Rock, allowing them to start shipping reinforcements across the water in the west. Meanwhile, Archer attempts a daring paradrop of commandos on Crucial Key, but their swift elimination by Infensia's forest-based forces demonstrates the latter's vigilant defense. Infensia takes a strategic step by destroying a nearby refinery on Terra Valora, hoping to disrupt Archer's energy supplies. However, Archer's energy reserves remain abundant, rendering the destruction of the refinery a less significant threat. With each maneuver and countermove, the intensity of the match escalates, with both players striving to gain the upper hand while carefully evaluating their opponent's actions. Amidst the mounting pressure from all directions, Archer manages to safeguard his production core, ensuring a steady supply of units. Suddenly, a resounding roar reverberates through the battlefield as Archer launches a rocket towards Infensia's forces in the east. Caught off guard, Infensia scrambles to defend against the unexpected threat. The rocket's trajectory and target remain uncertain. Will Infensia's SAMs be able to intercept it in time? Will Archer's calculated strike inflict maximum destruction? To Infensia's dismay, the rocket obliterates almost every unit in their eastern front line and deals significant damage to a factory. Despite this setback, Infensia maintains their successful western campaign and begins the search for the elusive launch pad. Meanwhile, with limited resources, Jackson perseveres in rebuilding his army. Aware of Sergei's formidable forces on Treasure Cove, Jackson takes a bold step by constructing a launch pad for Team Alpha. The stage is set for a decisive clash as the competition intensifies. Team Bravo asserts its naval dominance over the South Sea, granting Sergei a relatively safe opportunity to construct shipyards for transporting his formidable artillery force to either Terra Valora or Crucial Key. However, the delay in producing transport jets and the focus on training commandos leaves Sergei's artillery units stranded, far from the ongoing battles. In the east, Archer confronts yet another formidable defensive line, while simultaneously contending with a significant influx of enemy forces, primarily composed of infantry from the west. To create diversions and disrupt the enemy's economic stability, Archer strategically dispatches a few commandos to Citadel Rock, aiming to sabotage critical structures, neutralize production facilities, or seize control of territories. Sergei initiates the transportation of his artillery units to Crucial Key, utilizing the two landing crafts at his disposal. As they make landfall on the beach, they are confronted by Jackson's defensive line. Unaware of Jackson's rocket presence, Sergei proceeds cautiously. In a show of support, Sergei also dispatches 4 commandos to assist Archer on Terra Valora. Archer skillfully repels the incoming forces from Infensia's western assault, while simultaneously gaining full control of the Midwest seas with his formidable submarine fleet. This dominance allows Archer to dismantle an essential refinery, hindering Infensia's maneuverability, and neutralize any nearby ships and shipyards. effectively confining Infenzia's forces to Crucial Key. Infenzia retaliates by deploying helicopters to attack the launch pad, but Archer manages to launch another rocket. Fearful of the SAM units, Archer opts for a shorter trajectory, resulting in yet another successful rocket strike that obliterates Infenzia's eastern front line. The tides of battle continue to favor Team Bravo. As Jackson's rocket soars through the sky, it heads towards Treasure Cove, aimed at Sergei's stronghold. However, lacking accurate intelligence, Jackson is forced to launch it blindly. Sergei's SAMs engage, narrowly missing the rocket's path, but ultimately fail to intercept it. The rocket strikes its target with devastating impact, decimating a significant number of Sergei's units. Despite the destruction, Sergei's airports remain intact. Meanwhile, Infenzia, frustrated by unsuccessful attempts to penetrate Archer's production core on Terra Valora, constructs his own launch pad on Crucial Key. Hoping to gain an edge in the conflict, Infenzia prepares to launch his own rocket, aiming to disrupt Archer's forces and turn the tide in his favor. The battle intensifies as each team deploys their strategic weapons, vying for control and supremacy in the ever-evolving war. As the war rages on, Sergei intensifies his offensive against Jackson on Crucial Key. Leveraging their naval superiority, Team Bravo ships additional units across the sea, bolstering their attack. To further compound Jackson's troubles, commandos are dropped in parachutes, adding another layer of threat to his already precarious position. If Sergei succeeds in eliminating Jackson's structures on Crucial Key, it would spell the end for Jackson, leaving Team Alpha at a numerical disadvantage in a 2 versus 1 match against Infenzia. Meanwhile, Archer's attempt to seize control of Citadel Rock results in the conquest of a few territories. However, Archer finds himself outnumbered by Infenzia's locally produced units, making it a challenging endeavor to maintain his gains and withstand the relentless counterattacks. The battle reaches a critical juncture as each team strategizes and adapts to the ever-changing dynamics of the conflict. In the midst of the intense conflict, Team Bravo maintains an economic advantage, generating an income of 1559 capital per minute, compared to Team Alpha's 1437 capital per minute. The eastern front of Terra Valora becomes a focal point once again, with a significant number of SAMs deployed by both sides, rendering air operations ineffective for either team. Jackson and Infenzia find themselves compelled to collaborate on Crucial Key to safeguard Jackson's remaining buildings, where the launch pad ironically emerges as one of the 2 structures that keeps him in the match. Finally, the rocket nears readiness, and Infenzia unleashes it with the aim of obliterating Archer's rocket and potentially eliminating the nearby refinery and other structures. The devastating blast from the rocket demolishes the launch pad and refinery, inflicting severe damage upon the airport and its surrounding infrastructure. The tide of the battle shifts once again as the impact of the rocket reverberates across the battlefield. The fierce battle rages on, and both teams grapple with the challenge of maintaining sufficient energy supplies. Jackson manages to cling to survival on Crucial Key, while the eastern front of Terra Valora remains a constant tug of war, with Infenzia's forces slightly gaining the upper hand in numbers. Archer's submarine force becomes immobilized due to energy shortages. Infenzia, capitalizing on the opportunity, launches a second rocket aimed at Archer's vulnerable production core. However, Archer, anticipating this move, strategically positions 5 SAMs along the rocket's flight path, nearly shooting it down. The failure to intercept the rocket proves devastating for Archer, as it obliterates much of his production infrastructure, leaving only a couple of barracks, factory, and airport intact. Undeterred by the immobilized submarines, Infenzia leverages the supply route from Citadel Rock to continue reinforcing his forces, maintaining a steady stream of units to the front lines. The balance of power teeters on a knife's edge as the battle inches toward a climactic conclusion. As the Battle of Terra Valora reaches its climax, Infenzia's relentless advance pushes deeper into Archer's remaining territories. Realizing the inevitable outcome, Archer resigns from the match, acknowledging the overwhelming strength of Infenzia's forces. Though hope lingers until the end, Sergei valiantly persists in his efforts to gain control of Crucial Key, but the tide has turned against him. Time is not on his side. With Archer eliminated, Infenja seizes the opportunity to transport his entire army across the sea to the north shore of Treasure Cove, where Jackson once established his presence. The scars of conflict mar the entirety of the map, with craters serving as reminders of the fierce battles fought on every island. However, facing the combined might of Infenzia's and Jackson's forces, Sergeus realizes there is no hope left and resigns, bringing the intense hour-long line war match to its conclusion. The victor stands tall amidst the ruins, having outmaneuvered and outlasted their opponents, cementing their dominance over Terra Valora. Throughout the second half of the match, Bravo team maintained a larger empire value, signifying their territorial control and overall resource accumulation. However, the distribution of actively engaged units favored Alpha Team, as they strategically positioned their forces for effective combat. Alpha Team faced energy production challenges throughout the match, resulting in the loss of control over the South Sea and the crucial trade route. Despite these setbacks, Bravo Team enjoyed a significant energy advantage in the later stages of the match. Unfortunately, they experienced a critical blow as they lost all energy production and storage facilities towards the end, leaving them vulnerable. Alpha Team, on the other hand, may have lost more units and nearly twice the number of structures, but the sequence of events played in their favor, leading them to emerge victorious. We hope you enjoyed the intense battles, strategic maneuvers, and nail-biting moments that unfolded throughout the match. If you found yourself captivated by the action and strategic gameplay of Line War, we encourage you to explore Line War on Steam. Immerse yourself in the world of intense warfare, build your empire, and engage in epic battles that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Whether you're a seasoned strategist or new to the world of competitive gaming, Line War offers a thrilling and immersive experience for players of all levels. Gather your allies, forge your strategies, and conquer your opponents in this exhilarating game. Once again, we extend our heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you for being a part of this Line War journey. Together, let's continue to celebrate the spirit of gaming and the joy it brings.
So thank you very much for watching this video, guys. I know most of my viewers are probably not strategy gamers, but I really wanted to show what we've worked on for the past 4 years, and I'm doing other stuff in the meantime. You've probably been on my channel to watch me model or do some Unity development. And I really wanted to take the opportunity to show this in a little bit of a more interesting way to give you an understanding of what you can do with this game. If you want to support me and my channel, and if you want to support the continued development of this game, or if you're a strategy player and you want to play this game, head over to Steam, look up Line War, or check the link in the description and give it a go. And if you want to play me, give me a shout and I'll try to find you in the lobby and we'll have a good game. Hit the like button if you like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone, and bye for now.